I like to flatter myself.
You're the devil?
Did you believe that?
The movie starts with a group of thieves breaking into a museum under the cover of night. One thief shatters the glass case that contains an ancient and mysterious artifact, setting off the alarm system. The blaring sound fills the air as the thieves scramble in panic, trying to escape. One of the museum's security guards opens fire on them. As they flee, one thief, named Morgana, is accidentally left behind. In the chaos, she knocks over a small statue and notices a glowing fire opal among the broken pieces. The opal is beautiful, and Morgana hides it in her cloak. However, as she attempts to escape, she's shot by one of the security guards. Miraculously, the bullet is deflected by the opal inside her cloak. Desperate, Morgana manages to meet up with her boyfriend, who asks if she's okay. Morgana pulls out the opal, which has now split into two separate pieces. But when she touches them, the pieces burn her hand. Just as she's dealing with this, her boyfriend is shot by the same guard. He urges her to leave him behind in order to escape. Morgana hesitates, then fatally shoots the security guard and runs away, leaving her boyfriend behind. As she flees, something strange happens. Tendrils of flesh emerge from the shards of the opal. These tendrils stretch out and attach themselves to the walls in front of her boyfriend. The tendrils then begin to form into a monstrous entity, Djinn. This otherworldly being is capable of granting twisted, destructive wishes. The Djinn crawls toward Morgana's boyfriend and offers him immortality. Desperate, the boyfriend wishes he had never been born. The Djinn grants the wish, but in the most horrifying way imaginable. The boyfriend is transformed, first, into a teenager, then a chubby baby, then into a dirty sperm, and finally, he vanishes into nothingness. Soon after, more police officers arrive at the scene, and one officer is the first to spot the Djinn. The officer shakily orders the Djinn to freeze, and the Djinn grants his wish by freezing the officer to death. A couple more cops show up, and they confront the Djinn, who is now in human form. The Djinn casually admits to killing the first officer, and the cops arrest him. The Djinn is taken to the station, where he spends the entire night being interrogated by a detective. The detective is convinced that the Djinn is hiding something about the museum heist, especially the whereabouts of the missing paintings, but the Djinn remains unfazed and nonchalant. At one point, he casually tells the detective that he'd be happy to grant him a wish if only the detective would ask. The next day, Morgana is watching TV when she hears a news report discussing the robbery. It's revealed that the Djinn has confessed to the heist, admitting his role in it, and has been sentenced to prison. However, the police are still baffled about the missing stolen artwork. The reporter also mentions that the statue damaged during the robbery was of a Persian god, Ahura Mazda. This piques Morgana's interest, but things take a turn for the worse when she sees the wife and children of the security guard she killed mourning on TV. Overcome with guilt, Morgana is left confused, wondering why another man was arrested for a crime her group committed. Later that night, in prison, one of the Djinn's cellmates picks a fight with him. Unbothered, the Djinn asks the man what he wants most. The cellmate jokes that he wishes he could walk through the cell bars and escape. With a smile, the Djinn grants his wish, violently forcing the cellmate's body through the bars, killing him in the process. Meanwhile, Morgana, asleep in her apartment, is disturbed by a dream in which the Djinn's voice tells her that she has awakened him and that she will fulfill a prophecy. Shaken by the dream, Morgana feels compelled to visit a church, where a former lover of hers, now a priest, works. Initially, the priest isn't pleased to see her, as their relationship ended poorly. He had devoted himself to the priesthood, moving on from their past. But when he sees the troubled state she's in, he agrees to talk. Morgana explains that her boyfriend is dead, and the priest comments that he was a bad influence on her. Morgana then asks him, almost in passing, if he believes in the devil, since she's been having strange visions lately. Meanwhile, the Djinn is still in prison, making deals with other inmates, offering them a wish in exchange for their souls. The prisoners, unaware of the consequences, eagerly accept. At night, Morgana once again hears the voice of the Djinn, and even feels the unsettling sensation of a hand touching her. Perplexed by these strange occurrences, she begins researching the mythology of Ahura Mazda. Her findings reveal that Ahura Mazda was revered in ancient Persia as the god of light and the guardian of the sacred fire. Shortly after, the priest comes to visit her at her apartment and asks how she has been coping. Morgana confides in him about the disturbing visions and voices she has been hearing, as well as the strange events that unfolded at the museum that night. The priest advises her to go to the police and confess her involvement, since another man has been wrongly accused of the crimes committed. Following his counsel, Morgana heads to the prison, where the Djinn is being held. After the unsettling incident with an inmate's lawyer, the prisoners have grown wary of the Djinn. Still, a Russian convict nicknamed Vodka approaches him, pleading for freedom regardless of the cost to his soul. Before the Djinn can act, guards intervene and escort him to the visitors' area, where Morgana is waiting. She first questions him about the fate of her boyfriend, to which the Djinn cryptically responds that he is no longer among the living. She then asks why he confessed to crimes he did not commit, and he explains that his aim was to access the despairing inmates, who would be willing to barter their souls for wishes. The Djinn requires a vast number of souls to recharge the gemstones so that he can fulfill the prophecy, a task that also involves Morgana, the one who had unknowingly freed him from the opal that night at the gallery. However, he withholds the true extent of her role in the prophecy. Suddenly, Morgana experiences another chilling vision of the Djinn in his monstrous form, which abruptly ends their meeting. Later, Butts, the inmate controlling all the illicit dealings inside the prison, confronts the Djinn, demanding a share of the profits. The Djinn rejects his partnership, instead offering him a wish in exchange for his soul. Growing impatient, Butts demands to be wasted and buried into the ground. Taking this literally, the Djinn orders Butts' henchmen to beat him as he had described. The chaos draws the attention of the guards, who break it up and punish the Djinn by placing him in solitary confinement. That night, Morgana continues her research on Ahura Mazda and learns that a royal sorcerer once defeated the Djinn and imprisoned him in the fire opal. Should the Djinn ever be freed, he would bring about the apocalypse by unleashing his brethren to wreak destruction on Earth. To prevent this, Ahura Mazda was entrusted with guarding the opal. Morgana realizes that when she accidentally shattered the statue at the gallery, she had released the Djinn from the gemstone hidden inside it. When she shares her discovery with the priest, he initially dismisses it as delusions born from grief. Still, to be certain, he goes to the prison to confront the Djinn himself. During their meeting, the priest demands that the Djinn leave Morgana alone, proclaiming that God will destroy him. The Djinn only laughs, mocking him and using Morgana's voice to issue a threat, warning that he will soon pay her a visit. Later that evening, Morgana sees the Djinn's monstrous figure briefly appear in her shower before vanishing. Meanwhile, the priest's own research uncovers Morgana's critical role in the prophecy. Once the Djinn acquires 1001 souls, the person who freed him will be granted 3 wishes, and upon the fulfillment of the third, all the Djinn will be unleashed upon the world. The only way to banish the Djinn back to his realm is through someone who is pure of heart. Since Morgana has lived as a thief and killer, she must seek purification. Determined, Morgana undergoes a series of penance rituals that include praying in Latin, cutting off her pinky finger, returning stolen artwork, and making a heartfelt confession at church. A month passes, and the Djinn is finally released from solitary. By then, he has already consumed all the prisoners' souls. He tells Vodka that if he still wishes to escape, he must first surrender his soul. At that moment, a guard intervenes, having long suspected the Djinn's involvement in the prison's contraband trade and chaos. The guard boldly demands a one-on-one brawl. The Djinn grants this wish, and the guard suddenly finds himself alone in a room with the Djinn in his terrifying form. Moments later, the guard emerges again, but now speaking in the Djinn's voice, he asks Vodka if he still wants freedom. Overwhelmed by the Djinn's powers, Vodka gladly trades his soul. Afterward, Morgana learns from the priest that the Djinn has escaped prison along with Vodka. The priest recalls that Vodka had once murdered 2 members of his congregation and had frequently been seen at a Russian nightclub before his imprisonment. True to his memory, Vodka and the Djinn celebrate their freedom at the club. The feared Russian mob boss soon arrives, commanding the terror of everyone there. Fed up with groveling, Vodka asks the Djinn to make him the new boss. However, the Djinn clarifies that only one wish is granted per soul, and Vodka's has already been claimed. At this point, the Djinn has gathered only a few hundred souls, still far from the 1001 required. Seeing a loophole, Vodka introduces the Djinn to the mob boss, boasting that he can grant anything his heart desires. At first, the boss refuses, claiming he already has everything, but Vodka reminds him of his rival in Chechnya. Tempted, the boss wishes for his enemy's head. The Djinn fulfills the wish literally, attaching the enemy's head to the mob boss's body. Chaos erupts as the henchmen attack, and Vodka seizes the chance to take over leadership. Morgana suddenly storms into the club and shoots the Djinn, hoping to end the curse, but the bullets have no effect. He transforms into his monstrous form, terrifying both Morgana and Vodka. Offering her a free wish, he tempts Morgana with the chance to resurrect her dead boyfriend. Horrified, she flees. The priest later finds Morgana weeping in despair at the altar, tormented by guilt for releasing the Djinn. He reassures her that God recognizes her sincerity and will forgive her sins. Together, they return to the club and attempt to enlist Vodka's help against the Djinn. Shaken by the creature's true form, Vodka contemplates switching sides and even tries to kill Morgana to prevent the Djinn's rise. However, she is unharmed. Vodka then warns them that the Djinn is only a fraction of the required souls but knows of a location where desperate people can be harvested en masse, a casino. Indeed, the Djinn is already at the casino, relishing the opportunities to grant endless wishes. Later that night, Morgana receives a phone call from what seems to be Vodka, claiming to have bought her a plane ticket to stop the Djinn before he completes his soul collection. In truth, it is the Djinn setting a trap. Morgana requests another ticket for the priest, and he agrees. Before departing, the priest reviews their research and uncovers the same incantation once used to seal the Djinn inside the fire opal. He hopes it might work again. At the casino, chaos reigns as patrons begin winning jackpots everywhere, each wish claimed by the Djinn to add to his soul count. Eventually, he reaches the full tally of 1001 souls, charging the gemstone completely. On their way, Morgana senses the catastrophe and screams in horror. She and the priest soon arrive and confront the Djinn in an upstairs office. Morgana first wishes for the Djinn's destruction, but this fails because he is immortal. The priest seizes the opal and attempts the binding spell, but it too fails. The Djinn drags Morgana into his own realm, showing her the priest nailed to a cross. In anguish, she uses her first wish to release the priest, but the Djinn complies by killing him instantly. With only 2 wishes left, she next wishes for evil to vanish from the world, but this is denied since evil is essential to the balance of good. Returning them to the casino, the Djinn manipulates the chaos further when the manager, horrified by the sudden deaths of 200 patrons, wishes for the nightmare to end. The Djinn grants it by amplifying the destruction. Pressuring Morgana to complete her wishes, he repeats the prophecy. Realizing that purity of heart is the key, she wishes that she had never killed the guard. This restores her innocence, allowing her to take the gemstone and recite the incantation. At once, the trapped souls are released, and the Djinn is banished back into the fire opal. The film concludes with Morgana and the priest joyfully reunited, while the Djinn, imprisoned once more in the gemstone, roars in frustration, cursing himself for being so foolishly deceived by a human.